Okay, I believe we are live. Let me make sure that the audio unmute. Okay, let's see. Okay, I believe we are live. All right, so that's working. Great. Here we are. So I was asked to give a lecture on ethnography, video ethnography, for Anthropology 111 at Binghamton University. Here you can see I've got some slides up. And if I'm gonna put some work into a lecture, I might as well also record it on the internet for you all, whoever you may be. Yeah, so what follows is a lecture on video ethnography and online video that I'm preparing for some undergraduate students. And the lecture will be better the second time I give it, but that's why I'm doing it a first time. Alright, so let's start with these slides. So what is ethnography? Well, you can break down the word into ancient Greek. It comes from ethno, think ethnic, from the Greek ethnos, which is culture, or like people, or language, or not language, people, nation. I've seen a bunch of definitions like that. And then graphy, the study of, literally in Greek, it's writing, although in our modern parlance, it refers to something a little bit more visual, right? So ethnography is culture writing, and then video ethnography is absolutely culture imaging, right? So ethnography is the practice of making a culture legible to a different culture, or to the same culture potentially, but it's a translation work. You're taking information about human lifeways and presenting it in a form that people who do not have those same kind of lifeways can understand them. And traditionally, ethnography has been a practice where you go to a foreign place and try to translate it back to people of your own culture, but it can be the opposite. You can be representing your own culture to foreigners. That's another form of ethnography. And I suppose that is the form of ethnography that I'm going to be talking about today. I mean, not quite foreigners, but, you know, something to that effect. But before we get into autoethnography and how online video plays into that, let's look at this simple video. This is ethnographic. It is not autoethnographic. It's by a video production company called Great Big Story. You know, they've got like 1 million subscribers. So let's watch this video about this Chinese village with very long hair.
长发村黄洛瑶寨村子已经有几千年的历史了。自古以来，女性都以长发为美，所以呢，我们的村子就得到外面人的关注。我叫潘永燕，我是黄洛瑶寨土生土长的女孩。我们这里有200多名女性。很多时候啊，那些游客过来，走在村子里啊，或也都是想来了解一下我们这个养发的奥秘。因为我们从小都用那个自己发酵的淘米水来洗头，所以呢，到了80岁也不会有白头发。那我们会加入一些草药啊、柚子皮啊、茶麸啊一起煮开。一般我们都是3天洗1次头。我的头发有1.6米长，具体有多重也不太清楚，可能也有1-2斤这样吧。我的头发是17岁的时候剪的，剪这一次头发也就是一个成人礼，是一个仪式，然后就再也不剪了。盘另外一种发型的时候就会加进去。那么还有一种就是生小孩的，也就是当了妈妈的，那么她就必须盘2把头发，一把是成人的时候剪下来的，还有一把就是平时梳洗掉落出来然后积累成的，2把头发都要加进去盘到自己的头上，盘出一个发髻在前额那里，代表着小孩的意思。 像没结婚的女孩，就是盘那个圆形的螺丝发，但是必须用头巾包裹着，因为只能在洞房花烛夜让自己的新郎官看过之后才能打开。3000多年前就有这个留长发的习惯了。在我们姚家，我们觉得长发是神圣的，那它就应该是一个民族的文化。那么是一个民族的文化，我们这样传下来，也就是一种传承下去，然后也会要我的后代都继续留下去。
Okay, so the thing to point out about that video is that it was obviously staged, right? Like that final shot, those 5 women posing for the camera. It was not made by the people in that village. It was made by an American production company, and it was designed to be watched by Americans. So, and that's not...
This is the beginning of a...
Oh gosh, okay. We can learn about kimonos later. That's for a different lecture. Yeah, so having that kind of distinction between the video creator and the video subject is not necessarily bad, but it means that you can only tell certain kinds of stories. You know, there's certain kinds of information that will be salient and certain kinds of information that just won't be so interesting. So we can keep this video in mind, this like highly polished, you know, they have drone shots and like it's very well shot. There was a lot of money that went into producing this film and a lot of money to be earned by making a film like that, right? Which is sort of a different context of media creation than some of the videos that we're going to watch next. And that's sort of the main point that I want you to take away from this, is that the context of the story that you're telling, the audience that is going to be ingesting the story, that has a huge impact on what you're actually able to say, what you're able to convey, and the value of the media that gets produced. So, moving on, what's next? Okay, next is the Vlogbrothers. So, we're going to learn a little bit about YouTube history. So, if I click this...
Hi there, this is John Green. And I'm
Alright, well, let's look at their channel first. So, YouTube came around in...
Good morning, Hick, it's Tuesday. So I have...
2005, 2004. Let's go all the way to the bottom. All videos, sort by... wait, okay. Come on. Come on, YouTube. That's my email. Uploads. Sort by date added oldest. Okay, so we can go back 13 years ago and look at these video blogs. Oh, do you want to... Should I have my audio more like this? That makes more sense. Yeah, I should be closer to my microphone. All right. Anyway, so... back in 2007, these two brothers started making videos back and forth to one another. They didn't invent the blog format, but they're one of the most effective popularizers of it. So a vlog, a video blog, is basically you sit in front of a camera, similar to what I am doing right now, and you talk. And usually you talk about your own experience. And certainly early video bloggers did not conceive of what they were doing as ethnography or as autoethnography. At least most of them did not, but I don't know how much that matters, because this platform is this sort of like new thing that existed in the world that just gave far more people access to audiences, access to the ability to tell stories about their lives, whether they want to contextualize that as part of an academic discipline that is studying humanity or not. The information is there, and the ability to capture that kind of information about human cultures from this authentic emic perspective is there, and YouTube provided a technological suite of tools to make that more possible than ever before in human history. And that's really exciting. And so, of course, the stories that we're capable of telling changed. So the very interesting thing about the Vlogbrothers is that they created culture. They created an internet identity that didn't exist before called the Nerd Fighter. So we're going to watch this video about how to be a nerd fighter. I don't know how many nerd fighters there are in the world, probably 1 million or 2 people that like really identify as nerd fighters. Is this no, what's the symbol? They'll teach you the symbol. Anyway, it's an internet culture, and these people who created this internet culture, along with many, many collaborators, of course, are going to tell you what their internet culture is like. So let's give it a watch.
Hank Green, and we are the Vlog Brothers on YouTube.
And we are making this video a frequently asked questions video for the purposes of answering some questions that are frequently asked.
People are often confused. Like, for example, what is a nerd fighter?
A nerd fighter is a person who, instead of being made out of like bones and skin and tissue, is made entirely of awesome.
So you're saying that nerd fighters don't fight nerds?
No, we're clearly pro-nerd.
Nerd Fighter is basically just the community that sprung up around our videos, and basically we just get together and try to do awesome things and have a good time and fight against World Suck.
What's World Suck?
World Suck is kind of exactly what World Suck sounds like. It's hard to quantify exactly, but you know, it's like the amount of suck in the world.
One of the questions we get asked the most is, do you guys have real jobs?
Yes!
Well, I mean, it depends on how you define real. Hank runs the environmental technology website EcoGeek.
John Green is an award-winning author. He has written books such as Looking for Alaska, An Abundance of Catherines, and Paper Towns, and he's won many awards, including the Edgar Award and the Prince Award. Why don't you blink?
I don't blink because I'm focusing when I'm in front of the camera. I do blink in real life. That's why I still have eyes.
Do I need to make this smaller?
And also it's sort of a
I think I need to make
tribute
this
to the original video blogger, our hero, Zay Frank. So Hank, what's DFTBA?
DFTBA is an acronym.
No, it isn't. It is not an acronym. Acronyms are pronounceable. It is an initialism. DFTBA.
Okay. It's an initialism that stands for don't forget to be awesome.
Am I too young,
Old,
fat,
skinny,
weird,
cool,
nerdy,
handsome,
tall,
dead
to be a nerd fighter? No. If you want to be a nerd fighter, you are a nerd fighter.
Nerd Fighter Dictionary.
So that's a really critical point, right? Like, how do you become part of a culture? Well, Nerdfighteria is a very open culture. You can join if you want to. Some cultures aren't like that, so that's an important point to make.
Dictionary time.
Lightning round.
Puppy-sized elephants.
We asked natural selection to make us puppy-sized elephants because they would have the evolutionary advantage of being adorable, and we are waiting for that to happen. Stuff on heads?
Yeah, if you put stuff on your head, it makes you feel better about life.
Nerd fighter gatherings?
Is when nerd fighters get together. Sometimes we're there, sometimes we're not.
French the llama.
French the llama is something that John is trying to make into a thing in which people say, French the llama, that whale is big. But it's not going to work.
Oh, it's going to happen. I'm going to make French the llama happen.
Puff levels.
My puff level is the level of puff in my hair, which gets higher as I get more stressed out.
Decepticon
is the opposite of a nerd fighter. Giant squid of anger.
It's basically like a YouTube troll.
Tiny chicken disease
is a disease that happens when there's tiny chickens in your head and they lay eggs and all of it goos out of your nose. It's
a common cold.
Yeah.
Secret siblings?
Secret siblings are anyone who makes video responses down here to our videos.
Down here. In my pants.
In your pants.
In your pants is a phenomenon discovered by Maureen Johnson.
All right. I think we can probably end this video here. So some things to note, right? Like, so they're going through this list of like memes basically that they invented, and memes are a very important part of Nerdfighteria culture, more so than many cultures that have come before. And then they make this other point about secret siblings, that they built this culture by and large by encouraging other video bloggers to make video blogs and communicate with them, right? So there's this platform on the internet, and all of a sudden a community of people emerged, and they were all communicating in this new way that had never happened before, and they built culture around it very consciously and very quickly. A lot of the cultures that anthropologists study are older cultures that have existed for many generations that don't have this sort of like deliberate element to them, but particularly when you look at autoethnography, it's just a more conscious practice. People are aware that they're building culture because they're trying to represent that culture to you. Yeah, and so another thing that's worth noting is that the videos that I'm going to show you during the rest of this lecture, they're the videos that affected me in some way, right? Like, how do I have this archive in my brain of things that I can show you? Well, because in some sense, I have built these things into my culture. The Vlogbrothers had a very big influence on me and the content that I create. And so, of course, they're the ones that I'm going to show you. They're not the best or the most representative of how to do this, but they're the example that lives in my mind. And so you learn about me by the media that I am choosing to show you. All of these choices are they're loaded. Like every decision that you might make when you're making a thing will say something about the ultimate narrative that you're trying to convey. All right, so with that, I'm going to show you another vlog, similarly framed, of just a person talking into a camera. I'm showing you vlogs because these are things that you can make. There are other higher production quality videos that you could make, but this is where I wanted to start with this lecture here. So I am a trans woman, and so I'm going to show you a video made by another trans woman about how to be a girl. I don't actually think her advice is very good, but you know, we looked at how to be a nerd fighter, so we're also gonna learn how to be girls. Okay, great.
Okay, so I was thinking for fun that I'd explain how to be a girl as fast as I could using the stopwatch, and just to see how fast I can do it. I think I can do under 5 minutes. I'm gonna see if I can do as close to 1 minute as I can, but I want it to be a functional explanation. So, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so the first thing is voice. So if you want to find your girl voice, try this exercise. Start singing the lowest note you can, and then slowly raise it up. And when you're doing that, you'll feel your vocal cords tighten, and wherever the highest spot you can get to without like crunching your vocal cords, that's like where your girl voice should be, and you just hold your throat in that position, and you should be able to talk in that way. So you go, that's around where it's comfortable for me, so that's where I talk. Okay, and you're supposed to use your mouth. Like don't be lazy when you're forming words. The more like precise you are, the more girly it kind of comes off. All right, posture. So with posture, you want to have your back straight, your shoulders kind of like up and back, like so. And it makes them look a little bit smaller, and you kind of have your chest out a little bit. That's how you do that. You have your elbow kind of pointed in against your hip here, like so. So you have this kind of open posture with your chin tilted up just a little bit, not too much. And yeah, just imagine that there's a thread going up through your spine and your head, and it's just kind of...
Okay, so that is probably enough of that too. You know, how to be a girl in under 3 minutes. Actually, the attention span on the internet is less than that. I mean, I can keep going if you want me to, but the video quality is fairly low, which is deliberate. There's something very authentic about just sitting in front of a camera, even a cheap camera, whatever you can afford, and talking. So what else to note about that film, right? Like she's trying to tell you some of the techniques that she learned or developed in order to pass as a woman. There will be other content in this class about gender stuff, so I'm not going to go too deep into that today. But the thing that I want you to take away from this is mostly that she's talking about her own experience, but in this very, like, you know, so we've shown 2 how-to videos now. So how to be a nerd fighter, well, anybody can be a nerd fighter. How to be a girl, well, you have to do these things. You have to hold your chest like this. I don't think you have to hold your chest like that, but it's besides the point. All right, so that's like one flavor of making an autoethnographic film. I mean, I don't know if you can really count these things as autoethnography, but you can, right? Because that's what they're doing. All right, so let's move on. So we're gonna now watch. So this is Vlogbrothers Generation 2, you might say. This is a very interesting YouTube channel called What I'm Doing Right Now. Thousands of videos. Each one opens with an opening like this.
What I'm doing right now.
Let's go back.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm at Chatsworth House, and this is what I'm doing right now.
Okay, so each one of these films opens with an audience member or a friend being at a place saying, "Hi, I'm this person. This is what I'm doing right now." Right? Like we can watch another one like that. Let's see.
I'm Ninja Nerd. That's Pixie, who's 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's full of energy. And this is what I'm doing right now.
Right. So there's like a democratizing force to this, that a huge part of this content is soliciting similar content from other people in the community of people that are watching it. And the videos are filmed in such a way that they really try to give you a sort of slice of life. They're narrated by this man, Michael Aranda. And he goes around, he lives with his friends. They try to start a video production company. They fail because starting businesses is hard. So they're just like little windows into this man's life, narrated and curated by him. And that can often get rather complicated. So I'm going to show you this film, which is not actually a typical film. It's called How to Be Happy. It's not a typical film that is on this channel, but it highlights some of the paradoxes that are involved with making content about yourself on the internet for others to understand you or what your culture is. So let's give this a watch.
When I started this daily-ish vlog, it was just on a whim. Something silly and fun to do. Maybe a way to connect with my community in a way that I hadn't been able to before. I didn't realize at the time that I was writing the first sentences in what would become the closest thing I've ever had to a diary. But it's a weird diary. It's captured some of the happiest moments I've ever felt and painted beautiful portraits of the people I love. But it often leaves out the sad moments. It doesn't accurately portray the mistakes I make or the way relationships with people I love fall apart.
So I'll pause it there for a second to sort of emphasize this. So he's talking about how he has created this thing, this incredible archive of his life, but it's biased, right? Because he chooses to include happy moments, right? And he doesn't quite know how to tell stories about the sad moments, about the times when he hurts people. Those are harder stories to tell, right? Because they don't paint you very well. So you see this all over YouTube, all over the online video world, that people are presenting highly, highly curated versions of themselves. And there's a lot of bias, there's economic bias to do that, to show yourself authentically, like to show the true you. Like you want to, there's this parasocial relationships that get built. YouTubers build relationships with their audience, and they do that by convincing them that they are this person that they're performing. But of course they're not, right? They're performing, but they're still themselves. Like their performer self is part of who they are. It's very complicated. And so you get this like meta feedback where you sort of have to take so Michael Aranda here is taking a step back and thinking like, okay, how do I actually want to represent myself to the world, and represent the hard parts or the ugly parts. All right, so we'll continue.
I spent some time, or the way relationships with people I love fall apart. I spent some time recently watching older videos, and it made me realize how whitewashed this project makes my personal history look. Everyone's always so happy, and certainly the happy memories are the ones I want to remember, but happiness is not what makes us grow. It is being hurt. It is hurting other people. It is reflecting on that hurt and wanting to be better. and it's actually taking the steps necessary to be better. There's a line between being completely, brutally honest about my life and sharing details that aren't mine to share. It's not a line that I want to cross, but I also don't want to lie. I don't want to make something that's fake. I don't want to make people think I'm happy when I'm not. But at the same time, I don't want to drive people away. There's no denying that unhappy people are not fun to be around. And of course, everyone gets sad once in a while, and their friends are there to help pick them up again. But if you get sad for a long time, even the people who love you most can get tired. And that leaves you feeling like too much of a burden on the people around you, which, of course, makes it feel harder to get up because now you're even lower and you have to do it alone. Your biggest cheerleaders are worn out, and you don't want to drive away the people you have left with all the bullshit going on in your brain. I don't want to drive you away. I've gotten hundreds, maybe thousands by this point, of letters and tweets and comments and whatever of you saying that when you're having a bad day, coming here makes you feel better. I want to keep doing that for you. I don't want this to be a place where you leave feeling worse. But I don't know how to be happy right now.
All right, so, oh gosh, oh no, I had the wrong video mode on. Well, that's just terrible. That's absolutely terrible. Well, we're just gonna keep going. That's why this is a practice lecture. So, things to note about that video, at least you could have heard the audio, is, well, it's very well shot. Can't talk about how well shot it was because you didn't see any of it. Well, why don't we just move on to the next film? Okay. What's next? Okay, so now we're going to talk about TikTok. TikTok is, in my opinion, the most powerful video editing tool that exists, certainly for ethnography right now, because it's democratic. Like, everybody has access to these tools. You don't need to spend a long time in film school. You don't have to wrestle with the editor. The editor's really simple. It's in the phone. You can just do it. So there are various memes that flow around TikTok. This one is called Pass the Brush. So let's take a look at some Pass the Brush memes. So we can do Pakistani girls. Wait, oh, that's the wrong link. That's the same link. We'll do, here's Pakistani girls. Right, so you get the basic idea. We can do the same thing in Indonesia.
I ain't tryna. Yeah, ain't tryna be cool like you. Wobbling around in your high heel shoes, I'm clumsy.
Right, and then we can do drag queens.
Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not, 'cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way, 'cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back you.
Right. So you get the basic idea. We can also look at African American women. Right.
I'm that bitch. Been that bitch still.
Okay. So what's the takeaway from this, right? So TikTok produces this sort of highly stereotyped content, but what it's doing is that all of these people are given this like tiny little box or this little format to represent themselves to the world in this very specific way. So it's self-representation that's fun and accessible and tells you something about not just them, but the culture that they're a part of, because you can look at all of the different aesthetics that the people in this group are representing, and then you learn something about what they think beauty is, or what they value in going out, or things of that nature. So TikTok is really great for this sort of thing. Like, you can really drill down into different identity groups and watch videos of them representing themselves. So here's a video from the deaf community.
Brother. Sometimes it's hard for me to get his attention. I don't have to run all the way up to him to talk to him. You ugly. Pros and cons of having a deaf brother.
All right, and it will loop. We can do the same thing for the Jewish community. This one is more classically ethnographic, different Jewish groups, right? And there's the different kinds of Jewish groups. But the critical thing, if you look at the top of this video, and it'll loop around, right, like, this girl is clearly Jewish, right? So she is representing herself in this certain capacity. And she's doing it academically. Look at all of these stock photos, old historical images of different forms of Jews. But it's done in this way that ties it back to herself, because it's her TikTok account, right? Look at all her videos telling us things about different kinds of cultures, different crowns in history. So what else can we look at in TikTok land? Is the video right? The video is correct. All right. Well, there's some pretty interesting videos from the autistic community that I was able to find pretty quickly, like this one. Whoop.
1. When doctors were studying autism, they only studied males. This makes it harder for anyone else to be diagnosed because everything is based off the male brain. This sucks. Girls usually end up showing different traits than guys do, which is why it can take us years to get diagnosed. I was 15 when I got diagnosed, and that's considered early for a girl. I have a guy friend who's autistic, and he was 2 when he got diagnosed. A main reason as to why girls are so late to get diagnosed is because we are particularly good at one thing that guys are not so good at when it comes to autism. And this is something we call masking. Masking is basically just being like a really good actor. It's where you take traits that everyone else is showing and start portraying them as yourself. It's like a lot of copying going on. But in your mind, you don't think you're copying, you think that this is normal and everyone feels the same way that you do. You basically feel like an alien, and you're really good at hiding that, which is why I don't seem autistic. Autism.
Great. Let's watch one more. This one explaining chew stems.
This thing, my chew stem, got popular and it reached people outside the autistic and disabled community. And I got a lot of mean comments about it, actually. I had people asking if I was a dog, if I was a toddler, that I should order a bark box, that I should grow up, that I was unsanitary and embarrassing and stuff like that. But I know all those those comments came from a place of ignorance and not hate. So I just wanted to educate. This is a chew stem. Stimming is self-stimulatory behavior that everybody does, but it's really important for autistic people because it helps emotional regulation, sensory regulation, communication, etc. One of the most common stems is chewing. If I don't have this, then I'll chew on my hands, on my pencils, on my clothes. This is safe because it's specifically meant for chewing on, and I do clean it. There's a lot of misinformation around autism, and I want to tackle it with kindness, not with judgment and harshness. This is important to me and not something I'm embarrassed of. And for those asking, I got it from STEMtastic, a website run by and for autistic people. So one of...
Right, okay, so that's really cool. So autistic people look many different ways, right? So I showed you 2 of millions. And these videos, they're very earnest, trying to communicate their lived experience to people who might not necessarily have it. And so there's like a funny distinction, like this word ethnography is sort of, in my mind, basically what it means is that it happens in academia, right? Like it's an academic discipline. And there are plenty of people that are doing very similar work that aren't tying it to institutionalized education. And so their needs are a little bit different, right? Like this woman was trying to speak to non-autistic people because she wants autistic people to be treated better. That's a little bit different than the mode of like, I want to understand autistic culture from a lens of understanding the totality of humanity, and so I can put a book about it in my ivory tower, right? Which is not to say that's illegitimate, or, you know, they're both, any purpose that you have for making media is going to structure the kind of media that you're making and the kind of stories that you are telling. And there's a wide variety of things that we can consider ethnography from that framework, and it's just a matter of how you want to package it. So, now, with all that out, how long have I been going? Let's look at the stream data. Is that over here? Yeah, I've been streaming for 36 minutes. That's great. That's perfect timing. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little bit of the ethnographic work, autoethnographic work that I do. So I run a social media service called Commune Life. Before we look at this video, we can look at what Commune Life is. So I live in a network of income-sharing communes. There's about a dozen of them spread around the country, and this channel is mostly me, although also other people from these different communities telling little vignettes, little stories about those communities. So I went and visited a kibbutz in Israel, and this is from the Rainforest Lab. And yeah, so before I say too much about Commune Life and what we're trying to do, why don't I just show you this film. All right.
What a place. What a place.
I'm a boy in this one. So this is like electrical cable that's been wrapped around. Oh, we're going up there. Up there is where we're going. This is dangerous.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a great playground of death in the sense that it could kill you.
And very high up in the playground of death.
Mm-hmm. It was once the case in this playground where you could jump from the top hammock and bounce in the net on the bottom.
Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah, I think this playground has gotten more deadly. When I come down, can you play a song?
Am I having fun? Is this what fun is like?
Yeah, I think so.
Fun is kind of no TV.
Yep.
My vision isn't working.
That thing gets some velocity.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have fun. You're about to have fun. Yeah! Woo! How do I stop?
It means the same thing now as yesterday.
out of your houses into the street. Oh, everybody say it, fuck the police. Hey, hey, the loyal police say.
I feel like I'm really gonna hurt my scrotum if I do this wrong. I'm a chicken. I'm not a coward. I just don't want to die.
So the only worry
Well done, video project friends.
I think that might be a full shoot.
That song is that's an old revolutionary song from the 1918 revolution.
Is Fuck the Police an original?
Well, that's what the light police say means.
Okay.
Yeah, it means fuck the police.
Well, it means like down with the police.
Well, yeah. If you want to be technical and linguistic, it means down with the police.
That is you all the time.
All right, so that's an example of a Commune Life video. And so it's a little bit different than some of the other stuff that I showed you earlier because there were some more cinematographic techniques, right? I showed you earlier things that were basically a person sitting in front of a camera talking. And that's the basis of all of this. But there are plenty of parts of culture that you cannot capture by just having someone talk in front of a camera. There's this very interesting site at Twin Oaks Community, and I wanted to show people what that is like. And at the same time, I wanted to bake in other things about us or about me, right? Like I chose that song in Yiddish because I'm Jewish and I am partial to its ideology, right? And communes in general are partial to police abolition. But like, you know, we didn't say that up front. It wasn't like the autism video where the girl was giving a lecture about, you know, what she believes in this very didactic way. This was more experiential. I tried to work in camera movements very consciously, you know, like the shot where Julia was in the tire swing spinning, like shaky camera. A lot of what I go for is to give people the experience that they're there with me. And so my videos aren't polished by any means. Like my cinematographic techniques are not good. Like, I'm sorry I messed up with the live stream. Michael Aranda, in what I'm doing right now, much of his cinematography is very good. Like, he's very precise about where he places his camera and the shots that he wants to use and the equipment that he uses. And that will certainly improve production quality. But sometimes when you improve production quality, you actually make the content that you're making feel more foreign, feel less authentic, less like the person who it's about is making it. And I really try to emphasize all the time that me, the person that it's about, or, you know, my community, the community it's about, is the institution or the thinker that is telling the story, that is making the story, because I think that will give you a perspective on that culture that you can't get from an outsider. So how much time do we have left? We are 42 minutes in. Okay, well, we can do one more video. I think when I do this for students, I'll pause for questions or whatnot. But yeah, let's do this one more video. Oh, I did the same thing. God damn it. Okay.
Solstice, which is today, is the longest day of the year. The hectic rush of spring is over. And now it's just like the slow plod of summer, man.
Come taste lettuce, come taste peas.
I want to taste lettuce and peas.
Come.
Okay. Thank you for this pea.
It's our first harvest of the season. Solstice peas.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
What is CSA?
CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture.
Community Supported Agriculture.
Like a subscription farm, membership.
Where we build a bigger community, bigger than the one we live in.
You're saying, I support you as a farm and I want you to succeed as a farm. Supporting the kind of world that you want to see and be a part of, even when that's hard.
It's for me to eat?
Yeah.
We feed more people than we feed. We feed more people. A CSA is where we feed more people. People from our wider community join as a member to our farm so that they know they'll be getting fresh vegetables every week throughout the season. That's that simple.
The eensy weensy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the eensy weensy spider went up the spout again.
It just feels like really relevant right now.
Farming good because farming is real. If there's something very deeply human, or just there's something very deeply like about what it is to be alive, which is to be in connection to those systems that sustain us. It makes the act of eating more than just an economic transaction in a store. There's relationship around it, there's local connection, there's connection to place. This kind of farming is good because it strengthens local community and local connection.
The asparagus looks so amazing. It grows so fast.
You wanna try one?
Yeah. Alright. Whoa, did you see the bulbils?
Asparagus is way more magical than I expected.
What are you harvesting?
Kind of charred.
It's a kind of chard.
That's a hedge chard.
Whoa, I'll cook some.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll cut some. I mean, there's some.
Yeah, give me a bunch or two to cook and I'll do it.
Okay.
If you want good cooking, you can get good cooking. If you want good cooking, come around to my house.
I don't know why, but oh my gosh. Is this the chard? It's really good. Spinach that you eat that was grown right nearby and harvested the day of. It's just better than whatever stuff shipped from California you're gonna find in the store.
It's a full bag of vegetables.
Yeah, you should see me pack the box.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's probably enough of that. So, a few things to note. I shot that video outside my house. You can actually see it out the window. That's our farm. So I didn't have to go anywhere special to shoot that. That's just where I live. And I went to the garden during harvest and I talked to the farmers and I asked them questions about why they're doing what they were doing. And I knew the answers to the questions. I lived those answers, right? And so in many ways, I knew the right questions to ask because I live there, because I know what motivates them. I know what they care about. And so my responsibility was to try to get that motivation and that passion for why they grow the food that they grow and condense that into a 5-minute video. And so I did that by using clips of their narration. I also just tried to show the lived environment that we live in because it's very beautiful. So I guess to wrap up, like I said this a little bit earlier, but I will reprise it. There are many reasons why one might want to represent a culture, right? And certainly anthropology departments, ethnographers have formalized the practice more so than any other group of people, and have a set of ideas about how to do it well or how to do it poorly. But their motivations are by and large academic motivations having to do with knowledge and truth. And there are other reasons why you might want to represent your culture or another culture to a different culture. Justice, entertainment, profit, right? Like there's all sorts of reasons why you might do this. And depending on your reason and your motivation and your audience, the story that you tell is going to vary. Also, depending on your platform, the story that you tell is going to vary. The stories that you can tell on TikTok are pretty different from the stories that you can tell on YouTube. TikTok is far more democratic and accessible than YouTube is because of the technology that you need to have access to in order to make content. And YouTube itself is still incredibly democratic and accessible, and you see storytellers on YouTube of flavors and varieties that you would never be able to find 100 years ago when the discipline of ethnography emerged, or 150 years ago, what have you. So I guess the takeaway from this is if you're doing ethnography yourself, like you're doing it in an academic context because that's where that word lives, but it doesn't have to be so formal. It doesn't have to be so theory bound. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're hanging out with people and you're trying to represent them as they would want to be represented, right? And if you're representing yourself, that task becomes somewhat easier because you know how you want to be represented, but it also becomes more challenging because you can't actually view yourself objectively, right? Like this is what Michael Aranda was saying, that like he kind of only shows the happy parts of his life. He curates his representation of self so that his audience on YouTube feels good and continues to give him Patreon money, right? So there's all of these things that go into representing a culture in a particular way, and I hope that you are now thinking about some of them as you move on to do your own ethnographic video projects. So I guess I will open it up for questions, but of course no one's actually watching this live stream right now, so I won't get any questions, but it's the right amount of time, so I think we will end the stream. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.